Hey, welcome back to Tractors and Stuff. My name is Nick, and in this video, we're going to be installing a WR Long third function kit on the XR4145C. Now, I'm getting this kit because I just ordered a grapple from Everything Attachments, and I'm pretty excited for it to show up. It still hasn't shown up. We're a few weeks late yet, but they've been having some issues. So let's get into this. As you can tell, I am doing voiceover, so as you can see, the lips are not lining up with what you're hearing, but we're getting ready to get into this unboxing here. So grab the knife and we'll open it up and see what comes inside this box. Now, Everything Attachments did send me this kit. I talked to Travis there, and they sent it out to me as soon as I ordered it, which took about a week for it to get to me. They got some pretty good foam on top here. I don't really do unboxing videos that much. But lately I've been doing all these enhancements to the tractor and found that sometimes it's good to see what actually comes in the box. So we got a little box that's got something loose in there. And here's the valve itself. A lot of paper, packaging. The instructions, those are going to be helpful. And then a bunch of hoses. They seem to be all different sizes and ends on them so far, and I kind of just spaghettied in there. Bag of parts and stuff. And that looked to be about it. Alright, so we got a short hose with a 90-degree elbow on it. A couple of long hoses. This one's a little bit longer. Looks like another 90-degree on it as well. And then the two hoses that run up to the loader itself. And you can see the bracket that we have to install it by the quick attach. So this is the valve, and I know that we have to remove the toolbox there is what I'm pointing at, and that's going to hook up where those holes are at and bolt right there to it. When I'm sitting here, I'm trying to study it and to figure out how it's going to work, especially with keeping my toolbox there. But I do know for now that I need to remove that toolbox, and I'm really not looking forward to it. So here I grab my impact driver, 10mm socket, and I'm just going to take the toolbox off really quick, and that way I can get down there and see what I need to do to get this valve mounted and keep my toolbox where it needs to be. With the toolbox removed, you can see this is the loader control valve right here, and this little port right here is the power beyond. Now apparently we need to remove that steel line, and it's running up into the valve for the rear remotes, and getting access to where that goes into is going to be a major pain in the butt. We're inside the cab now, and as you can see right behind the gear shifter underneath the parking brake is this plate held down by three screws or bolts there, and I believe that valve is directly underneath that plate. So I'm hoping that I can take that plate off and that power beyond port will be right there. But before we get there, let's take a look at where this valve has got to go, how it's going to go. As you can see right away, I got an issue. I can't put it the way it's supposed to go with the ports oriented the way it wants to go because the loader valve is right in the way. And I fiddle with this for a while, trying to figure out which way, forward or back. Now the ports are on the wrong side there. Have it going facing the right direction. Let's get down there and see better. Maybe it goes on the inside? No, it's got to go on the outside. Why? How does this go? In all, I think I took this valve body off that bracket 7 or 8 times trying to figure out a better way of mounting this thing using that bracket and making it work. In the end, I think I just ended up bending that bracket around a little bit to make it work in this space. Unfortunately, that means I do lose my toolbox. I don't have a good place to put it. You can see here I'm looking for another place to mount this valve, but there's really no good place. And if you have any ideas of where I can actually relocate this using a custom bracket or something like that, I'm definitely willing to entertain that idea. Now here we can see I got it all mounted up, and there's the bracket. I bent that out. Like I said, I took this body off this bracket several times to try and figure out the best orientation for it where it's going to clear everything. Even the way they had it mounted on there, it wasn't going to work. So these kits are designed for this tractor supposedly. The bolt holes lined up, but you know, you can see I'm pushing on it there, trying to. I want to keep as much space, out of here as I possibly can. Pretty upset that I lost my toolbox here, but yeah. Well, let's get moving on with the rest of the install here. We need to take the steel line off of the bottom of this loader control valve. This is the power beyond port, and it goes up, like I was saying, to the rear remotes and supplies power there. So I got a crescent wrench on there to hold it while I take this banjo bolt off. Once that's loose, there's a little bracket that's holding two of these steel lines together, and I just reach up in there and take it out. It's just a single bolt going through the middle of them. You can see it right here. Just holds these two steel lines together. Now I'm going to try and figure out exactly where that goes. Back in the cab now, we're going to open up the steel plate, and I'm really hoping to see that line right underneath here. I'll pull little plastic covers off those bolts, grab a wrench, and take them off. And then with the plate removed, we're going to go a little freehand here. You can see all those hydraulic lines right there. And I'm hoping that the easiest one to get to is the power beyond port, which I hope is that one right there. But I know that it's not it. One can hope. In reality, it's the one that is located right underneath the shifter. So I pulled the boot up here, and it is that one down there that you just can't get to. I tried everything to get to that bolt, that banjo bolt, including offset crow's feet, you name it. I could not get on it. In the end, I decided to take off the rear tire. I got the back of the tractor jacked up and put on jack stands, and I still got the jack underneath it to help hold it. This tire weighs 550 pounds because it's filled with beet juice. Apparently that's not counting the weight of the tire itself. But I don't see another way of getting that banjo bolt off of there, unfortunately. Now with the tire removed, you can see that valve assembly is easily accessible. I can get it right on that banjo bolt and break it loose. So much easier. And I'm kind of got it in the back of my head. How am I going to get this tire back on? It's easy coming off. It's not so easy going back on. But I'll cross that bridge when I get there. For now, I need to take the steel line off. And once the last couple of threads let go, the entire steel line can come right out. And this is what we're going to be replacing. We got a hose here in my hand that is the shortest one, I think. I don't remember exactly. They give you the measurements and stuff. But it's going to go from the top port, and everything is labeled. I believe it's like A and B, ports A and B, and they tell you what the length is. And this one is going to go from the Power Beyond port. Yeah, it's the shortest hose. It's the Power Beyond port on the loader control valve to the topmost port on that third function kit. And of course, it's not angled the right way. I need to go get some wrenches and turn it to where it's angled the correct way. And you can see I finally get it turned the right way to where this hose can kind of loop around. It's still kind of long too. And I'm sorry I'm kind of blocking your shot here. I try to be cognizant of where my body is and in relationship to the camera, but this one escaped me, so I do apologize for that. I got that fitting turned around. The hose ran. Now you don't want these hoses rubbing on much, if anything at all, or very tight bends in them. So next we need to run the longer of the two short hoses from the third function kit, port B. That's the lower one. That's on the back side of the, the rear facing portion of the valve, to the rear remote valve assembly. And here I'm just cleaning everything up. I don't want any dirt or anything in there. Put the little adapter in. Forgot to mention those. They have adapters for everything. If you got an oddball size valve or something like that. So I was just putting that adapter in, tightening it down, and then I can install the hose. I'm going to route this hose, getting it going in the right direction, trying not to fill it full of dirt. And we'll route this hose again in a manner that doesn't rub on much or anything at all. Try to. And where it kind of wants to lay naturally, I guess, for lack of a better term. I'm going to start here at the top, get that tightened up, and then we'll hook it into the third function kit valve. According to the instructions, the next thing we need to do is run the longer 2 paired cables up to the front of the tractor, from the front end loader. To do this, we need to remove these bolts that are on this cover and put that plate down on top of where these bolts go, and use the supplied bolts with the kit to lock down that plate. You'll see here in just a second what I'm talking about. So you have to mount the plate with the quick couplings facing down and forward, and then put the supplied longer bolts into the holes. And then tighten it all down. I don't really care for this design too much. I think it would be better if the plate was angled where the quick couplers were pointed towards the center line of the tractor on the top of that guard. I think that would be more intelligent for a place for these quick couplings. And also notice that they're kind of crossed over one another, pointing in the wrong direction. So I'll have to get a big wrench and fix that. Now it's just a simple matter of routing these hoses back to the third function kit, and I will be using zip ties to secure these hoses to the existing hoses that are on the tractor. Here I'm showing that. I'm doubling them up to make them bigger so I can go around more. And then all that is needed is to clean off the hose and plug it in to the front of the WR long third function kit. Hooking the plastic covers together to try and keep those clean. I don't often do that. I forget a lot. Once those are all hooked up, just kind of tidy everything up, snip off the end of your zip ties, and we can move on to the electrical component of this install. Moving up into the cab now, you can see we're working on getting the cover off the joystick. You move that lower screw, and then there's a bolt up on top. The whole thing just lifts up over top of the joystick. I got to remove this boot, and to do that, I had to loosen the 2 bolts that hold the entire assembly on, and because that rubber was being pinched behind it. Then I just pull it up and over the locking lever there that locks the joystick out from movement, and that exposes the base of the lever. So the lever's already kind of loose. It's a really hot day out here, so I've heard you had to use heat guns and that sort of thing to try and loosen this up, but for me this just kind of twisted right off. There's not threaded or anything. It's like a aggressive texturing, a knurling, and it just popped right off. So here's the new lever, and it's got these couple of set screws. Oh, I dropped it. It's got these screws on the side, and you have to loosen them up a little bit to get them to fit over the lever. And this is actually where I kind of screwed up a little bit. The instructions say that I need to screw in the clamshell half, the part that holds the half of this clamshell together, all the way in. And that didn't make sense to me at the time, but it does later. And I'll explain it when we get to that part. So here I am just putting it on the lever where I think it's a good height, and I want the button to the inside so I can use it with my right thumb. So we're just going to tighten down these screws here, and that should hold it in place. Down here at the valve there's a bundle of wires. There's 2 groups of wires. One has, I believe, 3 wires inside it, and the other only has 1. The one that has 3 wires is for the switch, and the one that only has 1 goes to your power supply. So right now we're going to be focusing on the one that has 3 wires because that's what we need to run up to the joystick to wire in the switch. How we're going to get there, let's take a look. Unfortunately, there's no real easy way of running this wire through the cab body here, the floor. There's like an area that I thought I could get to, but it's just not going to work. And I'm thinking about drilling a hole, but then I realized that the boot to the gas pedal is right there. So take the gas pedal linkage apart there, and I can kind of push that grommet boot to the side, and that's where we'll run the wires. So here in a second I'll just pull that out, and I believe that's going to be a really good spot to run these wires. And I'm just seeing right now if there's actually enough space, how tight that grommet is and that sort of thing. So, yep, there we go. Move that out of the way. Plenty of room for all those wires that come up through there. It's not that big. Then we're going to run it through the fender cover there up to the joystick. Here you can see the wire that has ran up through that hole where the fuel pedal comes through. I'm putting the boot back on now. And it runs up that fender up to the joystick into the clamshell. And the two halves are now put back together. And here I am just trying to get that boot down and hold that wire in place. And we'll put the floor mat back down and put the gas pedal back together again. Gotta make sure you get everything out of the way. That floor mat's really thick. There, I got a tool stuck there. We'll put the pedal back together, and we'll go into the inside of the cab. Okay, this wire is way too long now, so we're going to need to trim it up. So it doesn't have to be precise. You leave yourself a little bit of extra. Get rid of the excess there. Strip off the outer sheathing. Now be careful when you do this because there is 3 little bitty wires inside there. And just pull off that outer sheathing. You don't want to damage them, make things too short. So, don't have a very good camera angle here, but I think we got yellow, I want to say green and blue or something like that. Let's strip them back, and we're going to wire in the switch right now. It's best to just follow the instructions. You know, I did this a while ago now, and I just don't remember what the colors are. But after you get all your connectors connected to the wire, then I guess it's just time to plug them into the switch. You can see I'm holding onto it there in my hand, and I'm talking to the camera about which wire goes to which connector, and see if we can see it there. So, and just plug them into the switch. Black on top, or blue, yellow on the side, and then red on the bottom, or something like that. Read the instructions. It tells you exactly how to wire it in. And then we just push it in through the body of the joystick, and it kind of snaps into place. And I see that it's actually hitting that metal rod, the joystick part. So I need to raise that plastic piece up some. And this is where having the backside of the joystick actually on with the screw comes in handy. It's why it was in the instructions that way. And I neglected to actually put it in. That bolt, it will go on the top of that rod, sticking up that the metal part there. So really mine is a little too short, but the wires aren't really strained. So I'm actually going to end up going a little higher than that. Then we're going to put the other half on. Put that screw in, and that's supposed to go on the top, like I said, of that bar. And right here I realize that it's got to go up even higher. No, I don't realize it yet. I'm still going to try and tighten it down. Yeah. I have to pull it up quite high now, and I'm kind of straining those wires, like I was saying, they're not super tight, but I don't like to have wires really that tight. We'll get it tightened up here and get the rest of the screws in the handle, and we'll be finished with the joystick portion. I was just wiggling that boot there. I was talking about how I don't know how the boot is going to go all the way up into the plastic body of the joystick. And to be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of this particular joystick. It doesn't feel all that comfortable. It feels really cheap, plastic hollow kind of a feeling to it. I like the joystick handle that came with the tractor. That was more comfortable in the hand, but it's just a lever. It's not you know it's not detrimental that it feels like it's really cheap, which is exactly what this feels like. It's just ergonomically not very good, but I get why they have to do it that way. It has to be hollow for the switch. I just wish that it was a little bit more friendly and no to the hand. But that boot down there too, that's how it's going to stay. I tried getting my wife to come out and figure it out for me, and she couldn't figure it out. So it's just going to live like that. It doesn't look half bad. I'm kind of used to it by now. So it is what it is. The next step we have to do is connect the hot wire, and I'm going to open up the cowling here and look for a fuse box or a hot wire. But pretty soon the camera is actually going to die, and I didn't notice. It was so hot that the camera actually got heat stroke. So I didn't actually capture hooking up this wire, and I couldn't find a good spot to actually wire it in. And I could have gone to the hardware store and got to add a fuse or something like that and put it into the fuse block. But I ended up just running it direct to the battery up front. There's plenty enough wire. It comes with an inline fuse, so use that. Hook it up. It doesn't draw anything because you know the valve's not being operated. So after having the valve installed for a while now, I don't have a dead battery, even a low battery, because there's just no draw on it unless you're using that switch. So it's not a deal at all. Alright, so let's fire this thing up and test it out, see how well it works, check for leaks, that sort of thing. We'll get the tractor running here. I'm just doing a really quick look, making sure that so far nothing is leaking, nothing is amiss. Now I don't want to move the joystick around because I have the back of the tractor up on the jack stand back there, but I do want to move this button in and out, and I'm listening and I can hear that valve working, and I can see the hoses flexing, and I look around while I'm doing this and just checking to make sure that there's no leaks, there's no issues at all. Work the rear remotes, make sure that those are still working. You can see the hydraulic top link coming in and out there on the back of the tractor. There's me talking to the camera that you can't hear. Satisfied it all works. Shut off the tractor, start buttoning it up. So my final thoughts. That's I don't have a grapple yet. I've been waiting for a long time to get the Wicked 60, I believe. Everything attachments grapple, and shipping is just taking forever. So I really haven't had the opportunity to test it out yet. And so far, I mean, I'm getting used to the handle, and I still haven't found a good place to mount my toolbox or remount the valve. Uh, the tire, putting it back on, I actually had to call my neighbor to come and help me because I could not get it back on by myself. It was just too much of a pain in the butt to try and get that tire lined up, lifted up, moved around, and get the lug nuts on. So don't take the tire off unless you have help, for sure. Also, this is the last video that I had the audio issues with. I did figure out what was wrong, and I have since repaired it, and I am actually looking at some more better equipment. So hopefully in the next few videos, we'll have some better audio. So thank you for bearing with me on this. It's been extremely difficult to edit this. It's taken me a very long time to do, and I really hope I was able to capture everything so you could see what it's like to install this for yourself, and hopefully you can learn from some of my mistakes, but have the confidence to do it yourself. It really didn't take me that long, maybe an hour or so. If I didn't have to film it, if I knew I had to take that tire off, if I had help, for sure, it would have taken me well under an hour to do. But just going through blind, not really knowing what to expect, what to do, it did take me a little bit longer. But in the end, it really wasn't difficult at all. I am looking, like I said, to redesign a few things, such as where the front couplers or how they're mounted. I don't really care for that too much, and I really want to explore changing that, but I don't want to do that until I get the grapple and I see what the grapple's, how it's going to be with the hoses coming off of it. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully I'll be able to film that when the grapple arrives, and we'll get it unloaded and hooked up to the tractor for the first time and check it out with this WR Long third function kit. So if you don't mind, please hit that like button, and if you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button and hit that little notification bell next to the subscribe button. That way you can get a notification every time I upload a video, which, as you know by now, I don't do all that often. So, and it's really random. So help me out by hitting those buttons for me. And please, I really do enjoy engaging with all my viewers. Leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know how I'm doing. Ask any questions. I'm happy to answer them. Find me over on TBN, or hit me up here. So thanks for watching, and have a good one.